welcome to the stage, Steve Bates.
It had been a very long day when I got the phone call. We need 20 ambulances here, now. It was the summer of 2014. Rural Victoria was having a very bad bushfire season. Not as bad as 2009, that was the year where Black Saturday occurred. And hundreds of houses were lost, along with 173 lives. 173. The CFA, the Country Fire Authority, was stretched, and so they put out a call to other states for incident management team members to come down and help. I, along with 12 other very, I suppose, proud firefighters, turned up in Victoria. We were sent out to a little town called Brisbane. It's a small scenic country town about an hour's north of Melbourne. Beautiful little town surrounded by a sea of hay, just dried grass everywhere. When you go on these deployments, you're never really sure how you'll be received, whether you'll be welcomed or seen as an outsider. We had some concerns. It wasn't helped when the room coordinator, the professional from the CFA, sort of had a demeanour you would describe as Wayne Bennett's crankier younger brother. So in true fire service tradition, we gave him a nickname, Captain Cranky Pants. We spent our time getting to know the local area, the locals. The people were so friendly. They do things slightly different down there, but we soon picked out how we would do it, and everything looked fairly cruisy. And then we got the weather report for the next day. Temperatures in the 40s, wind gusts up to 50 kilometres an hour, plummeting humidity, the exact same numbers as Black Saturday. Fire danger index, catastrophic. We hoped for the best, but sure enough, come mid-morning, a fire did break out. We could actually see it from the incident control room. It's just an office space in the middle of town. The fire took off at 1,000,000 miles an hour, driven by those winds. It zigzagged all over the map. It frustrated our planning officers who need to know where the fire will be in 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours. There's two reasons for that. One is to warn people to get out of the way, and the other is to try and set up a control line to stop it, because you can't put water on these things. They're just too big and just too powerful. A control line is basically a dirt road in which you may or may not, if the conditions are right, do a backburn to allow fire to fight fire. In the incident control room, things were frantic, and our skeleton crew of 13, just like that it seemed, turned into 60 people. People came from everywhere, all different agencies, all coming to help and do whatever needed to be done. That was just our, whatever needs to be done, make it happen. That's all there is to it. Out there in the field, it blew our little Queensland minds to know that over 100 fire trucks were out in the field. And more importantly, 4 precious helicopters landed in the local school playground and were available to us. In Queensland, if we get a bushfire and 10 trucks turn up, that's huge. We had over 100. It was crazy. But that's how disastrous and how dangerous it is in Victoria. More importantly, the town itself went on sort of a war footing. The sense of community was amazing. I'll give you 2 examples. I was given the job at 4:30 in the afternoon to feed 80 firefighters at 8 o'clock that night at a little town in the middle of nowhere. I solved that with 1 phone call to the local Red Cross volunteers. Can you feed 80 people at 8 o'clock tonight at this location? Yep, no worries. It was just like that. The helicopter crews, they work a long night, a long day, and they need a good night's sleep and a good feed as part of their contract. But they come in very tired and hungry. This is a small country town on a Sunday night. Restaurants close at 8 o'clock. I had to go to the local Italian restaurant and said, is there any chance you could feed 20 guys and they'll be in about 8:30? And they looked at me and I said, they're the helicopter pilots. And they said, not a problem. And that crew said that was the best Italian they've ever eaten. That fire burned all that day, into the night, the next day, the next night, and into the next day. You can imagine our relief when the call finally came through the Incident Control Centre. The fire is under control. We had no lives lost and only a few properties. This looked like a really good win for us. Under control doesn't mean the fire's out, it means it's just burning safely within containment lines. We took the opportunity to rest our crews, telling them as much as we can to stand down and sending the neighbouring crews home, and we lost 2 of our helicopters. That's when I received the phone call. This is Riddell's Creek Evacuation Centre. The fire is heading directly towards us. We are inundated with smoke. We have elderly here with chest pains. We have people with asthma attack. Send 20 ambulances now. The fire had broken containment lines. It was heading from a 2-kilometre front directly for the evacuation centre. Now, fire, of course, is just a chemical reaction. It doesn't think, it doesn't have feelings, but for those people in that evacuation centre, and for anyone who's ever witnessed a bushfire of that size, where the sky turns red and the sky rains fire upon you, and you can't breathe, and all you can hear is that roar as the fire heads towards you. You could be forgiven for thinking that fire has come out of the gates of hell. We asked 83 firefighters remaining to stand up one more time. Men, women, volunteers, professionals, and fight that fire. When I looked at the map, it was as if Satan had said, you've won this day, but I will take what's due. And in that building is 63 of the most vulnerable members of Riddell's Creek. And I'm taking them before I go. And if that is true, in my mind, the 83 who stood up, perhaps with the memory of that 173 5 years earlier, and said together, not today, Satan. Not today. And they fought that fire, and within an hour, the call came through, fire out. It's hard to explain in words how you feel when you hear those words. The next day was taken up with a debrief, and then a relief crew came in, and we Queenslanders looked at each other and said, what are we going to do for a day? And we decided we wanted to go out and see the fireground, see what happened, meet the people we've been talking to on the phones. We decided to start the day with coffee at the one good coffee shop in town, something we've been living off all week. I, as a good logistics officer, went to pay, only to be surprised that the cafe owner said an anonymous customer had already picked up the bill. We walked outside, and a man accosted us and said, that was my house you saved. And we went to Riddell's Creek, and we went to the fire station, and the mum and dad who were just running the place, you know, the elderly pensioners, that was their life, running it. And they welcomed us in like family. They gave us a tour of the station, they gave us the most marvellous afternoon tea in true country style, and they gave me, all of us, this t-shirt. Which I wear with pride, and it every time I look at it, I think of those country people in rural Victoria. Thank you.